Hey, hello everyone. Very good evening to all of you guys. Let's wait a couple of more minutes. People are still joining, and then we will start. Okay. Okay, guys. Let's start the session. So first of all, I'm audible to all of you. Just give me the confirmation in the chat box, and my screen is visible.
Yes, bro.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's start the session. Okay. So first of all, I really welcome you guys in this particular course where in the next 5 days we are going to learn about the Git and GitHub. Okay, what is Git, and we will try to understand its architecture, why it is required, and all those stuff. But before that, let me introduce myself. So my name is Vanj Jaiswal, and I am a senior data scientist as well as a senior software engineer. I have around 6 to 7 years of the working experience, and I have like 8 to 10 years of the teaching experience. Okay, and I'm very old in this particular field, and in this particular course, we are going to learn about the Git and GitHub. Okay, so we have a lot of folks in this particular meeting right now. We have around 47 participants, and the numbers are still increasing. So, unfortunately, I will not have enough time to talk to you and give one by one or give you guys a chance of your introduction. Okay, so we will start over here. Just one thing is, yeah, okay, that's great. Okay, so how many of you have studied or joined my class before? I can see there was one guy who's Rafiq, and anyone else who was already there in my session in the past, any of the session like Python, data science, or something. You can give me a cheer up in the chat box. Meanwhile, before we start our session, I have one request to you guys, and the request is that during the session, you guys have to make sure that your mic should be on mute. Okay. And whenever you have to ask any question in the Zoom, you will get an option of a hand raise. So you can raise your hand if you want to talk to me, and then I will ask you to unmute yourself, and then we can talk. Okay. And the next thing is, if anytime you have any question, you can drop it into the chat box, and I will take care of your question. And one more thing is, feel free to ask the question. Okay. um, Whether you knows about that question, if you did not understood any of the topic, or anything that is not clear to you, okay, or anything that where you wanted that I should explain it again, okay, you need a better understanding of it, okay, just feel free to ask the question. Okay, it's very important that whatever you are not able to understand, you have to ask. Okay, you guys are dedicating your time for this particular course. Okay, so don't be shy. Okay, don't think that if I'm going to ask this question, what other people will think. Other people will think that, okay, I'm dumb, I'm not able to understand this particular question, I'm fool. No, don't think about that. Okay, you have to learn. Okay, you have to learn, and you have to make sure that think everything from this particular session. So your voice is breaking. Okay, my voice is breaking. Is it? Hello? My voice is breaking, guys?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So, can you say that what is this subject about?
Yeah, we will talk about it. Don't worry about that.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah. Okay, done? Okay, voice is clear. Okay, so let's start the session. Okay, so what is this subject and what is this particular tool that we are going to learn? Let's keep that aside for the time being, and let's learn something interesting first of all. Okay, so I believe that all of you are right now in graduation. Okay, some technical or maybe a non-tech background, but everyone needs to learn about the Git and the GitHub. Okay, so we will talk about the Git and GitHub a bit later. But first of all, let's come over here. Okay, and let's try to understand a couple of different things. So, when you guys were like in school or right now, okay, if you are creating any project, okay, when I'm saying a project, it could be a website, it could be a presentation, it could be anything, a PPT for a school, an assignment or research paper, okay, it could be anything, okay, your resume, okay. So, how we are saving the file. So suppose I'm working, or you guys are working, any one of you are working on a particular file. Please don't annotate. Okay, don't do that. Okay, so suppose I have created a one single project. Okay, that project could be anything. Let's say, Abhimanyu, don't do that, man. Okay, I have, let's say I'm creating a, for example, I'm creating a AI chatbot, for an example. Okay, it's a very complex thing, but yeah, let's say I have created a one chatbot, or very simple school assignment or a website. Okay, let's, instead of this, let's, instead of AI chatbot, let's take something simple, and we have created a simple website. Okay, very simple, basic website, and we call it as a project. Okay, so this is my project folder. Okay, this is what? This is my project folder. Okay, into my project folder, I have couple of files. Okay, what I have some file. Let's say I have call it as a file one, file two, and a data file where all the data related to that particular file is stored. It could be Excel or it could be a CSV file. Okay, so this is how the simple project structure looks like. Okay, very simple school assignment or a website, anything you can consider. Okay, now I have created this. So what you will do, you will go and you will save this particular file in your system. Okay, you are going to save it as a project. You are giving this a name, project.zip. Okay, a zip file you have created. I'm assuming everyone knows what is a zip file. Zip file is where you are just it is a very portable format, and you are compressing your file into a smaller size. Okay, so that you can transport it. Okay, sir, voice is breaking in between. Guys, my voice is breaking for all of you, or is it just for the Mansi?
No, sir.
Anyone else? It is not breaking, right? No. Okay.
Breaking, sir. Your
Mansi,
sound is breaking, sir.
okay. Just give me a second then. Let me check whether I'm on which Wi-Fi. Okay. Just a second. Huh? Yeah, man, I'm on a best Wi-Fi that I have, so I don't think so it would break. Okay. Okay. Come back over here. Wait a second. Huh? Let me check my headphones. That's a headphone. Yeah, man, everything is aligned. I don't think so it would break again. Okay. If it is again breaking, then just let me know. I will change the Wi-Fi. Okay. Okay. Come over here. Okay. So what we have done is we have stored it in the name called as a project.zip. Okay. Initially. Now, after some time, you have submitted this project. Okay, you the first version that you have created, and it was quite good, but there are some modification. Okay, your faculty said, "Hey, can you do this type of modification and this changes into the file?" Okay, and you got some feedback. Okay, so based on the feedback, you again created a copy of your file. Okay, you again created a copy of your file. Okay, when you created the copy of your file, okay, when you created the copy of your file, now this time my f2 remains same. Okay, the data.csv remains same, but I changed one file from file 1 to file 3. Okay, file 1 to file 3. Now I have another copy of my file. Okay, sorry, the whole project. So what happens is you have a one copy of a project, right? Then you change it and you created another copy of your project, okay, with some changes into it based on the feedback. Okay, now what happens is, okay, what will be the next thing is you started with a very first version. Let's call it as a project.zip. Okay, then after that you got some feedback and you actually change the file. Okay, change couple of things into the project, and you said, okay, now this is my final thing, and I will call it as a project underscore final.zip. Okay, now we have project underscore final.zip. No, Ankit, there will be no other language is going to be used. We have a lot of participants from the southern part of India and who are not able to understand Hindi. So the whole session would be in English only. Okay. Yeah. So come back here. So project underscore final dot zip. Okay, I thought, okay, now this is my final project. Okay, these are the final changes. Okay, but after some time, there is another feedback. Okay, and you thought, okay, I can modify this particular part of the project, or I can modify these icons, or I can add couple of animations into it. Okay, and you thought, okay, now I changed the file again, and this time I created project final.zip. Okay, another version I have created. Now again the same cycle repeats. Okay, you created the project, you showed it to someone, your faculty or someone, or maybe your seniors or anyone, or you got some idea about it. Okay, so you created the new copy, and this time you have written project full and final.zip. This is something that I have done a lot. Okay, when I was like class 8th or 10th. Okay, so project full and final.zip. Okay, now some more changes, and this time I'm writing, okay, let's write the date. Okay, project 20 January.zip. Okay, what I did again, some changes, same cycle repeats. Some of the changes, it's a recurring changes. Okay, like the Windows right now you guys are using, okay, maybe Windows 11. Okay, so earlier, couple of years back, you guys were using Windows XP. Okay, then we had Windows 7, then Windows 8. Okay, then Windows Vista. Okay, Windows 10, Windows 11. So a lot of versions were changing, but did the whole code was changing? No, couple of things are changing, and then a new file will, new project is actually ready to work. So the same thing, I have changed my project again, and I have created another copy of it. Okay, let's say on 20th January, which is today's date, I thought, okay, this would be full and final. It's a final review, project submission. But yeah, then again a change. Again a 21 Jan. So this type of things happens a lot with the programmers as well. Okay, as I am a programmer or I am a developer, if I am working on something, any software or any project I'm creating, then this type of problem occurs. I want something, then I change it and I created a new copy of it. And this is something which is very common. Okay, so anyone have ever did this in your life? Anyone? So you are giving some final and underscore final. Something happened like this with you? Because I've just created it into a .zip. Like it was a folder, and for transportation, I converted it into a zip file. That's only thing. It's just an example. Okay, yeah, it's happened. Okay, this is something which has happened a lot. Okay, now what is the problem with it? There are a lot of problem around it. First thing is, let's suppose the project that you have created, it is having a size of 2 GB. Okay, now after the one change, okay, you change something from F1 to F3. Now you have saved another copy of it, and you call it project final, and it is again taking a 2 GB of space. Okay, another change, another 2 GB of space, another change, another 2 GB of space, another change, another space. So what happens is, if I created 6 version of it, the one project where the actual size was just 2 GB, now because of the multiple versions that I have created, because of the some changes in the current version, okay, the whole thing actually now taking 12 GB of space. Okay, how much? It is 12 GB of space. So if it is taking 12 GB of space, now this is something which is very costly for us. It is taking a lot of space in our system or server. Okay, now just think about it. What if the project size is 200 GB? You are creating a very big project. Okay, suppose you are creating a very big game. Okay, the games are generally very bulky. Okay, the boys must know about it. Okay, you guys are playing like Call of Duty, Battlefield, a lot of GTA 5. Okay, That is a very popular game, and it is actually in the hundreds of GBs. Okay, now just assume if you are working on a project like this and you just created 5 version of it like this. After some changes, you created another copy and like written the name project final. Okay, just 5 version is going to take 1000 GB of space. Okay, 1 kgb, which is equal to what? 1 TB, 1 TB of space. Okay, so your whole hard disk is actually vanished. Okay, so this particular thing or this particular approach that we had earlier, this is what a very big problem for the programmers and the developers. Okay, they don't want something to do like this every time. Because of some changes, they have to do something like this and they are creating another version of it. Okay, so it's not a resource efficient, and getting back whatever we have in the earlier data, that was again a problem. Okay, so this was the major problem that we had in our software development scenario. Okay, so right now you guys are not using the Git, so you guys are actually facing a similar problem. Okay, that's why you guys said yes, you have done this. Okay, now, so what we need, okay, what we need, how to solve this particular problem? To solve this particular problem, what we require is we require a one concept that is called as a version control system. Okay, that is called as a version control system. Okay, where instead of, what is a version control system? So the version control system, or in short we call it as a VCS. Okay, in short we call it as a VCS. So what is a version control system? The version control system is a mechanism, or it is a system where you can manage different version of the same code. Okay, different version of the same code or same project. Okay, you are making couple of changes into it, and then you can actually manage it. Okay, you can store it, so there is no need of creating multiple copies of it. Okay, so how does this version control system works? That is a solution, but how does it works, how it evolves? Okay, now we are going to learn about it. So before I move to the next part, the first thing is why I discuss this part, that you guys must know what is a problem. Okay, and what is the problem that you are actually going to solve in this particular course. Okay, because sometimes what happens, if I directly switch to the version control system and I explain that, you guys will not able to understand why we are reading this, why we are learning about this particular concept. Okay, so everywhere in the IT field right now, version control system is actually used, and it is a must have tech skills that you guys should have. Okay, now, problem statement is clear. What is the problem statement and what are the challenges with it? Yes, no? Guys, problem statement is clear. What was the major challenges? Okay. Now, coming to the next part. So we will come to the history of the version control system. Okay, and we will see how it actually works and what are things happening. So what the programmers had figured out, that the creation of the GIF file of the project was not a very effective, okay, was not very effective from the programmer's perspective. It is taking a lot of space, it is very inefficient, okay, and it's very difficult to track everything. Okay, so what they have done is they have created, the very first thing that they have created is called as a local version control. Okay, local version control system. This is what they have created. Now, the local version control system, how it works, what they have done. So they have created some databases. Okay, so what is a database? So database is actually a method where we are storing our data into a tabular form. Okay, like just like the Excel sheet. So Excel sheet is just a single Excel sheet, but into databases there are multiple or thousand or millions of different types of data and the information that you can store. Okay, so what they have done is they have created some databases. Okay, and with the databases what they started doing, okay, they are trying to keep track of files. Okay, so let's suppose initially the file was f1, then in the next time, I have changed it to F2. Some changes I have written in this file. Okay, so for this F1, there is a timestamp. Okay, that they are managing. Okay, on this particular, let's say this one is updated on 15th of Jan, and there is a user. Okay, whoever the user, let's say the user is Bob. Okay, now there is next change that happens in the file f2. So into the file, what are the changes? They are also mentioning it. Okay, and then let's say this change occurred at 17 January. Okay, who was the user? The user was, let's say, Alan. Okay, so a lot of information about that particular code, okay, they are trying to store. So if they require F1, they can pull the F1. Okay, if they want, okay, now what I want, the new release that we have created or the new code that we have created, it is not working as expected. I want to go back. That's called as a rollback. Okay, that's a very big advantage. I will talk about it. What I want to roll back to my previous version. Okay, whatever the earlier code which was working, I want to roll it back. So from here, they can actually get the previous version of the code, okay, which was stored on 15th of Jan. And they can simply use that particular code for the application. But what happens in this case is in the local version control, okay, in the local version control, the project was on local. Now, when I say the word local, okay, what does it means? Local means there is nothing on the cloud, okay, or any server. Means all the information, all the project related files, data, information, it is only available into your hard disk. Okay, into your laptop or desktop's hard disk. Okay, so all the project was on local. Okay, and we are very happy we are using the databases, and instead of creating multiple copies, we are just storing it into the database, and whenever there is any changes is required, I can roll it back. Okay, or I have a track, whatever the changes I have done, whoever made the changes, everything is we are able to track. Okay, now we are able to track everything. Very good. Things are on local. Okay, very good. We solve that problem where we are creating the multiple copies. But what happens if there is any natural disaster or anything happens? Let's say there is a fire broke out at your house, or your laptop is actually malfunction, hard disk is corrupted. Okay, there is a flood, there is a tornado, earthquake, any natural disaster or man-made disaster happens. What will happen in that case? The whole code is actually lost. Okay, all the data, all the information that we have stored is actually going to be lost. Okay, we are not able to access the project file again. Why? Because everything was on the local server. Okay, local desktop or a hard disk. So we are using the version controls. There are different versions on which we are controlling, like which version we have to use, but it is on the local. There is no cloud or the server in the picture. Okay. So that was the problem with it. So here are some, sorry, come again. Okay. So here is the pros. What is the pros? So it can track your files. What are the changes that you have made? And there is rollbacks. It is giving you the facility of the rollback, where you can actually go to your previous version or a very previous version, or maybe the first version that you have created, because you have the track of all the versions that you have ever created. Okay. But what is the con? The cons are, if you lose your hard disk, then everything is lost. Okay. If your laptop is gone, your hard disk is gone, then the whole data will be lost. Okay. So that is a problem with the local version control that we had. Okay. Now, once if there is a problem, then yeah, necessity is the mother of innovation. Now come to the next step. That is called as a centralized version control system. This is a very interesting system. Now, what we have done is, instead of storing the all the data, okay, instead of storing all the project related data into the local machine, I'm going to use a server. Okay, this is my server or cloud, you can say. Okay, so a server that I have created, it may be on cloud, it may be a on premise where you are using your own servers. Okay, so a central repo, and there I have all the codes. Okay, everything related to the project is now I have put it on the server. Okay, yeah, that's good thing. Now it is not in a personal laptop of any individual. It is no longer local. Okay, we have created a centralized repository. Okay, so the project we had earlier. Okay, and then in this project we had F1, we had F2, and we had data.csv. Right? So in this particular server, I have uploaded my project. Okay. Now, the benefits of the central repository is that this is, let's say, user Bob. This is, let's say, Alan. Okay. This is, let's say, user is Jacob. And this is, let's say, user is Brian. Okay. We have some users. Now, what happens is, what what is the main thing that happens with the centralized server is, now our code is available over here. So earlier, when the code is on your own laptop or your local machine, only one person will be able to use it. No other peoples will not able to collaborate. Like right now, this PowerPoint presentation which you are seeing, it is not on the cloud, it is on my local machine. So only I can edit it. Okay. If I ask any one of you, like Ayush, Abhimanyu, Adit, anyone can edit this particular PPT, any one of you will be able to edit it? Yes or no? What do you think? You guys will able to do that?
No, sir.
No. But if I create a Google Sheet, okay, and then I share that particular Google Sheet with you, you guys will able to edit it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Why? Because that is on a server. So multiple users can collaborate on it. Okay. This particular file, PPT that you are seeing right now on my screen, this is in my local machine. Now tomorrow, by some chances, if my laptop gets corrupted or there is a fire or flood or anything, I lost my laptop, then this file will be completely lost. Right? No backup, nothing. Okay. So what happens with the central repository or the centralized repository that we have created, we are actually storing the whole project on our server. And now let's say this is the user Bob, and Bob is, projects are big. Okay, multiple users are actually working on it. It is, do you think that Windows is actually created by a one single person? Yes, no. Windows is created by one single person, or there are multiple developers? Yes, no, anything? Yeah, multiple developers are there, right? So let's say this is a Bob. So Bob is working on, say, file F1. This is a Alan. Let's say he is working on the file F2. Okay, this is a Jacob. He is reviewing. Let's say he's a manager and he's reviewing whatever you have worked on F1 and F2. Okay, and then we have a Brian. Brian is working on the data. Okay, now some changes how the central repo works. So first of all, Bob is making a request to the central repo. Okay, just like going on a particular website or a server, and he is taking the file F1. Okay, what he is doing? He is taking the file F1, making some changes into it, and then he is commit. Commit means he is pushing back the file to the server. Okay, then what Alan does? So Alan is taking the file F2, he's updating the file, and then he is pushing back the file from his local to the repo again. Okay, so he's not taking the complete file. He's just taking only the F2. He's not taking the whole project. So in his laptop, he just have a F2 file. In his laptop, he got F1, he made some changes, and he pushed back to the server. Okay, similarly, the Jacob. So what Jacob has to do, Jacob have to review it. So Jacob actually downloaded the file F1 and F2 from the server. He reviewed it. He saw everything is good and there are some comments he needs to add into it. He added or he made some changes from his side. What are the issue? And he committed back. Okay, change the file on the central repo. Similarly, the Brian is getting the data. Some new data actually comes. He downloaded the data file, append the latest data into it, and then he committed it back. Okay, so in this particular manner, what happens is, in this particular manner, we are actually having a central repo. Now tell me one thing. By chance, Alan's laptop gets corrupted, okay, because of some XYZ issue and his laptops get corrupted. Do we lose the whole project? Yes or no? What do you think? We will lose the whole project then in that case? No, we are not going to lose. Okay, Jacob is the manager. Okay, Jacob's laptop was stolen. Okay, there is a thief and he stole Jacob's laptop. Do we lose the whole project? The whole data, whole company will be affected? Yes, Khushi, it will be updated for everyone. Okay, so in that case, anything happens with these laptop, the things are not going to be damaged. Okay, now here, so what are the pros? So what are the pros that we have with the centralized system? The pros that we have with the centralized system is the project is available at the central repo. Okay, and the multiple people can actually work on it. So there are a lot of people who can actually work on it. And in the local version control, that was not possible. But what is the con? The con is if the failure of the central repo, okay, where the whole server, where we have uploaded our file, if the failure of the central repo server will cause the failure and loss of all the data that we have. Okay, server is also a some place, some hard disk where you store the data and there is a possibility that might fail. Maybe a fire broke out, maybe some natural disaster, some functional issue, anything can happen with this central repo, then in that case, we will not able to get anything and everything will be lost. Okay, there is a chance that maybe some local copies of every single file was present to all of the folks. Okay, but might be a possibility that right now it's just three files now, f1, f2 and data. Into the actual project it is actually more than 100 files, so it might be possible that there are some file which is not available in anyone's local machine. Okay, so we will lose that particular data. So that is a challenge with the centralized version control system. Okay, so how does this system works? Again, let me just revise it in 1-2 line. So instead of putting the code on the local, we are putting the whole code onto a central repo where multiple people can collaborate together and they can work on it. The pros are project is available at the central repo, so you can get whatever you want from it, but and multiple people can work on it. The cons are if there is any failure of the server or the central repo server, then in that case, we will lose the data. So that's how the central version control system works. Now, what is the next thing then? The next thing is what we call as a distributed version control. Okay, so this is the third version control that we are going to discuss. First one was the local version control, then centralized version control. Now we are going to discuss about the distributed version control. Okay, the figures may look very overwhelming to you guys, but don't worry, I will explain it instantly and you guys will get it. Now, how does this distributed version control system works? Let's try to understand that. So earlier, just like earlier version, okay, what we are doing, we are actually having a main server. Okay, I have created a main server repository where I have all my codes, everything that I have created, the whole project that I have created. Okay, the whole project is available over here. Okay, let's say this is f1, then f2, then this is my data. Now, what we are actually doing into the distributed one, whenever a user is actually taking the file for making some changes. Okay, listen this line very carefully. Okay, whenever a user, suppose this is my collaborator one, okay, who is collaborating in this project, or the user. So whenever he is collaborating in this main server file, what he's done, he's pulling the repo. What is this pull? Pull means he's trying to get the whole project. Okay, now instead of one single project, okay, it is going to, sorry, not one single project, one single file, he's going to get the whole repo. The whole project's copy is going to be created, and that's what we called as a local repository. Okay, that's what we call as a local repository. So one place is the main server where we have the complete project setting. Okay, from that main server we are getting the project. So let's understand detail over here. Suppose this is my server. Okay, and this is my version database. I have a multiple versions of the code. Okay, I have version 1, version 2, version 3. So a lot of versions of the code was there. Okay, and lot of changes was there. So in the distributed control system, sorry, not control system, the distributed version control, okay, what we are having is, see, first we release version 1, then we release version 2, then we release version 3. This is my whole database. Okay, when a developer is going to work on it and he's taking that particular project for the working, instead of only the version 3 or any other version, he will get the complete copy of the project. Okay, he will get all the versions that have ever been created, the whole history, the file tracks, every changes that we have made. He will get all of this in his local repository, okay, or in his local machine. So in his machine, he's actually having access of all the files that he changed, all the files of the project, and all the files what other folks have changed into the different version. Okay. And then whatever the changes he has to make in his file, he will make those changes. He will take that file, update it, and he will commit it back to the local repo. Okay, he just committed it back. Commit means upload it. In a very simple layman term, he uploaded the changes again into the file. Okay, and then he simply push back to the main server. So I am a user. Now let's understand the whole thing with an example. I am a user, and if you remember, I have created two versions. Okay, one is with the F1, F2, and the data. Okay, let's call it as a version V1. The other version, project V2 that we had, over here we had F3, F2, and the data. Okay, now I am a user. Let me use Paint. I do not have enough space over here. Okay, so initially on our server, this thing is very much important. Okay, so initially we had a global server. Okay, now here we have, let's say, two versions. I will call it as V1 and V2. Okay, so these are the two versions that I have. Now, what are the two versions? How it looks like? So P underscore V1 is having the file F1, F2, and the file data.csv, right? And into the version 2, we had F3, F2, and the data, right? These are the two versions that I had. Now, into the centralized system, if I want to change F3, the user, if this is a user, the user is only getting the file F3. He's making the changes into it and he committed it back, uploaded back to the centralized server. What happens in the distributed one, when a user, suppose this is a user, okay, this is a user. So when he will try to get it, he will get the complete repo. This is what we call as a repository. Okay. In short term, we will call it as a repo. So he will get a complete repo over here having all the versions. V1, V2, how many versions we have created. Okay, this is called as a pull. Okay, we will talk about it in the code and everything. We will talk about it. So this is what we have done. We have created a local repository, and there I have V1, V2, and everything. Now from this one, I will pick which code I have to change. So let's say I want to make changes into the F2. So I take in the F2. I made some changes in my system in the F2 file. Then I push back this F2 to my local repository again. Okay, a local file, local repo that we had. So this is local repo. I pushed it back to my local repo. Okay, then from the local repo, I am going to push the whole repo, the complete repo over here. This is called as a push. So now what happened? I had all the repo, all the versions that I have ever created in my local machine. From there, I selected a specific file and I have taken that file, I made changes into it, and I uploaded it again into my local repo. From the local repo, now I will push it to my main repo. Okay, what I did, I pushed it to the main repo that I have created. Now, whatever the changes that I had made over here, that can be reflected over here. Now, suppose there is another user, the another user will also going to do the same thing. He will going, if he is going to pull it, he is going to have the complete version. How many versions that have been ever created? V1, V2. Okay. Then into his local, whatever the file he was changing, he will get that file and he will upload it back. And then he will push it back to the main repo. Okay. So in this case, what happens is, if you can see now, okay, now you can able to understand this particular diagram easily. So this is my server. I have three versions of the code. Okay, so when a developer A is taking the code from the server, he is getting all the three versions of the code. Similar thing with the developer B as well. He is also getting all the three versions of it. And whatever the changes they are making, they can make their changes. Okay, now if you come over here, this is a main repo. Okay, main server repo. We have cloned it. Okay, we have, what is the cloning, I will tell you later. So we basically download it. Right now I can use the word download, actual word is cloning. Okay, so we download the whole repo, created a local copy of it, then we have taken the file in which we have to make changes. So I change that particular file, okay, and then I upload it back to the server, okay, to the local repo, and then it will push to the main repo. Now, this is how the distributed version control works. There are a lot of pros and cons about it. Okay, I will talk about it in a minute. But before that, anyone have any doubts or any question? So can say the definition of the centralized version control. Yeah, Kiran. So in the centralized version control, if I come back to this diagram, okay, there is not going to be the whole repo that the users are getting. Okay, it is only the file in which they want to make a change. They are not getting the previous versions of it. Okay, and all the versions are available on the central repo only. Okay, but in the distributed one, there is a copy of the main repo is actually created on the local. Okay, and then we are making the changes and pushing it to our local repo, and then we are pushing it to our main repo. Okay, so this is called commit, this is called push. We will talk about it. Update, pull, push, commit, everything we have to discuss in the Git. Okay, so this is how, what the difference between the distributed version control and the centralized version control. Okay, so before I move forward, anyone have any doubts or question in the distributed version control? Because this is what the Git does. Okay, we will talk about it. We'll talk about the Git. Anyone have any questions or doubt over here? Or the flow, main part is the flow. Okay, what if two or more people push at the same time? That's not going to be an issue. Okay, multiple people can push the code at the same time. Okay, but before it is actually attached, or that's called as a merging, before it is merged to the main server, okay, the code is actually going to be merged, that's the term. There is a review. Okay, there is a manager, or we call it as a Git admin. So that particular guy actually approves that which part is going to be merged. Okay, that's called as a pull request. So we are actually going to share our code over here. Then there is an admin who is actually approving it, and then only the code is going to be merged. Okay, so without that, the it is not like everything is automated. Okay, suppose what happens is a developer goes rebel. Okay, he introduced some bug or some type of viruses into the code, and then he pushed it to the production code. Okay, let's suppose Gmail you are working, and a developer in the Google is not happy with his work or kind of the work culture or anything. Okay, he took the code, he changed it, and he simply uploaded it to the production server. Okay, so that the whole Gmail will be affected? No. For preventing this type of thing, okay, so when they are, suppose all the three users push their code, okay, before merging it to this repo, what happens is there is a Git admin who is actually reviewing your code, okay, and then only he can merge it. Okay, so if multiple users are pushing at same time, there will be a queue that is going to be formed. Okay, when we are going to learn about the GitHub, that time I will explain all this admin thing, review, push, pull, commit, everything. Okay, that time. But you asked, that was a good question actually. What is the difference between Git and GitHub? I will come to that question a bit later. Git and GitHub. Okay. Right now, you guys, I did not explain the Git. Okay, so there is no point to taking that question right now. I will explain that. Now, coming to the next point. So, what happens now? You can ask the question. Okay, sir. What will happen if the main server repo that we have, this is going to be malfunction? Okay, some issue happened with the main server repo. So in that case, there are multiple places where the whole repo is actually located. Okay, multiple user, and every user have the complete access of the project and every version of it. So we can get the backup from there. Okay, and into the cloud or into the server of the distributed version control, it is actually created at the same copy of the repository is actually created in the cloud at the multiple places. So if one of the repo is stored at the, let's suppose, in Mumbai's data center, the another one is going to be stored in the Africa's data center, and another copy is going to be stored in the US data center, New York data center. Okay, so if any one of the data center, suppose there is a tsunami in Mumbai and data center is completely blocked, it is malfunction, it is destroyed. Okay, then your data is available in the Africa and the US. Okay, that's how the data centers are distributed. You can learn about the data centers that the Microsoft, Amazon, and the Google have. How many locations? Okay, so that's how the main server repo or the distributed version control actually works. Now, what is the next thing? So the next thing is it is avoiding the bulky data files and only the source code is backed up. Now, what is this? So the point is, whenever we are creating any project, okay, so into the project, there are some data file which is very big. Okay, suppose you are working with a CSV file. So this CSV file or Excel file may contain the data like, let's suppose 10 million rows. Okay, or let's say it is a Aadhaar data. Okay, so we have a 1.25 billion of people. So in this data is going to be a very huge data. If the data is huge, its size will be huge. Okay, so is it a good idea that that much big data copy is available everywhere? No. Okay, it is avoiding the distributed version control, avoiding the bulky data file, and only the code that is written by the developers that is actually backed up. Okay, and remaining thing we are actually ignoring. That's where the command git ignore will come into the picture in the future. Okay, now, so what we have understood the distributed version control. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the course which we are learning, that is a Git. So what is a Git? So Git is a distributed version control system. Okay, I will take 5 to 10 minutes extra. Anyone have any issues? Like class will be over at 8. It's already 8, but 5 to 10 minutes so that I can complete today's agenda. Any issues? Attendance will be marked. You just join the session and attendance is marked. Okay, I'm taking 5 to 10 minutes extra, guys, to complete today's agenda. Otherwise, tomorrow I have to take the same thing and that will break the flow. Okay. What is a Git? So Git is a distributed version control system. Okay. Now, the Git is the distributed version control system. So it is a version control system. Why we are using it? Because it is easy to recover files. Okay, easy recovery of files. Any version, anything that you want, you can recover from it. Okay, so also in the Git, you have a provision that if there is any issue, someone changed a file and because of that change, some issue occurred. Okay, so you can exactly get to know that who introduced that particular issue. Okay, and when that issue was introduced. Okay, now there is also a provision that you can roll back because it has all the versions that you have created. So you can roll back to the previously working state. If there is any issue with the current version, then it will simply roll back to the previous version that we have. Okay, now if someone lost the file, okay, you are working something on your system and a file is corrupted, or maybe the file is lost, or you deleted it, okay, or anything, any mishappening happens with the file. Okay, in that particular case, you can directly pull it from the server. You have already always a copy of the file is there. Okay, then if server is damaged, okay, if the server is damaged, we can push the code base again on the server from the developer's repo. So every developer have the repo. If the server is damaged, there are multiple copies of the server, but yeah, if all of them are damaged or you only have a single copy, then from the developer's repo, you can actually push it and you are not going to lose the complete project or the data. Okay, in the Git or in the distributed version control system, you will actually able to the collaboration from the multiple people is possible. So whenever there is a team of a software engineers are working on a project, they are using the Git, okay, distributed control system. Now these are the major reason, okay, this is the major reasons of the acceptance of the Git, and this is what makes Git a very popular option among the developers. Okay, Git and GitHubs are widely used thing that we have right now. Okay, it is so old, we will talk about its history. Okay, and this is very beneficial in every aspect. Okay, why is name Git? That I don't know, man. Why its name is Git? Okay, there is no full form or something about it. Its name is Git. Okay, now coming to the next thing, story time. Anyone wants to hear a story about it? Interested, guys? Story is going to be very interesting. Anyone? Let's have a story. Give me a second. Let me drink the water before the story. Okay, story is going to be very interesting. So you guys know, how many of you knows this guy? Anyone? Who is this guy? Anyone knows about him?
No, sir.
No. Okay. His name is Linus Torvalds. Okay. What Linus has does? So Linus is a father of Linux. Okay. Linus Torvald is a Finnish software engineer who is the creator and the lead developer of Linux kernel. Linux kernel means Linux operating system. Okay, so he is the one who created the Linux kernel. Just like the Bill Gates has created the Windows, okay, Linus Torvalds created the Linux kernel, and he also created the distributed version control system. He was the first guy who created the distributed version control system, and he named it as a Git. Okay, now coming to a very interesting story is that, so Linux was actually introduced in the year 1990s. Okay, so how was the Git created, and what is the when they feel that they need something like this? So what happens is in the year 1991, when the Linux was first time introduced, okay, the Unix-based system. So they are, and Linux, if you know, that is the open source. Okay, for Windows you have to pay Microsoft. Okay, and for Mac you have to pay Apple. Okay, to using their operating system. But for using the Linux operating system, you need not to pay anyone. Okay, you need not to pay anyone, and it is a completely open source, free of cost. So Linux was actually developed by a lot of developers who are like contributing by their own wish. Okay, it is not like they are getting paid for it or something. It's just a contribution towards the mankind. Okay, so they have created the Linux in the year 1991. Okay, and they are not using any type of version control. Okay, and everyone was writing something into it. Okay, so from the year 1991 to 2002, Linus was this guy. Linus was writing the Linux kernel, but they are not using any of the VCS. VCS is the version control system. Okay, so when they have reached to the year 2002, the Linux was now a huge thing, and people are actually facing some difficulties in like roll back to the previous version or maintaining the whole code or maintaining the whole project. So they thought they require a version control system. Okay, so they have actually reached to a company called as a Bitkeeper. Okay, the Bitkeeper is a company who said that, hey, we are having some version control system, you guys can use it. So in the early year of 2002, they Linux Torvalds and the Linux folks started using the Bitkeeper for the version control system. Okay, by this they are actually like writing their code and uploading it to their central repo. Okay, now what happens is they have used the Bitkeeper for like straight 3 years. This was the time when Linux got huge popularity. Okay, so from 2002 to 2005, they are using the Bitkeeper as a VCS version control system for the Linux. Okay, everything sounds good till here. From 1991 to 2005, yeah, it's a good 14 years journey. Now in 2005, the Bitkeeper decided that Bitkeeper was giving its services to the Linux to free, free of cost. Okay, because Linux was also free. Linux guys are not getting paid, okay, by any organization. Okay, they are doing this for the mankind. So in 2005, the Bitkeeper has decided that they will revoke the free of charge status from the Linux and demanded huge amount of money for their services. And they asked, if you have to use the Bitkeeper, then you have to pay us. Okay, and the whole Linux community was very in shock with this particular news. They thought like how we are going to pay this much of the amount. They are doing it something for the mankind, and they are not having that much of the money. Okay, to pay to the Bitkeeper so that Linux will work fine. So everyone reached to the Linus, and they asked Linus, hey, now what we will do? So in 2005, this happens in the very early 2005. Now, so Linus said, don't worry, I'm going to create something very good for you. Okay, I'm going to build something which you guys never saw before, and it is going to be very interesting. And the most important thing that it is going to be completely free of cost for the whole user. Every user, every person in the world can use it for free. Okay, if this guy wanted to monetize it, this guy can monetize a lot of things, and he might be more rich than the Bill Gates itself. Okay, but he chooses that no, whatever I'm developing, that is going for the mankind, and people can use it for free. Okay, so on 7th of April 2005, Linus Torvalds released the first version of Git, which was a distributed version control system. Okay, and it was open source and it was free for everyone. Okay, so in the April 2005, that was the time when the first version of the Git was actually launched, and that's where they started moving the whole Linux code by using the Git. So they started using the Git as a distributed version control system for the Linux operating system. Those guys who don't know that there are three types of operating system which is very popular: Windows, Mac, and there is a Linux, okay, which is very light, very fast, very accurate. Okay, and developers are actually using the Linux system. Okay, so in the year 2005, the Git was actually migrated from the Bitkeeper to the Git. Okay, the Linux was migrated, and that's how we got a very great tool that is called as a Git. So you can see that how a necessity of a certain thing, okay, leads us to the great innovation that we got from the Linus Torvalds. Okay, so this is the story about the Git, how the Git was created. We have already talked about what is the distributed version control system and how that architecture actually works. Okay, we already exceeded 10 minutes, but yeah, this was the agenda for today's session. I also wanted to explain you that how you guys can actually install the Git. I can quickly give you the guidelines. You guys can install it by your own after this particular session. Okay, so we will talk about the Git and GitHub. First of all, let's talk about the how to install it. So what you have to do is, all you need to do is you have to first of all search git install on your browser. Okay, go and search for git install. When you are going to search for it, you will get the first website, git-scm.com. Okay, click on it, right? And then it will simply pick whatever the operating system you are using. If you are using Windows, it will directly give you Windows. If you are using Mac, it will show for Mac. If you are using Linux, I don't think so anyone is using Linux. So if you are using Mac, you will get the Mac one over here. You have to click on it, download for Windows, and a exe file is going to be downloaded. A simple downloading file is going to be created. Okay, so I'm going to click on it, and here it is saying for click here to download the latest Git version. Okay, so you have to click on it. All you need to search is the Git install and go on the first website. That's it. Okay, then download is going to be started. Yeah, my downloads is started. Okay, it's a 65 MB. Yeah, you guys are saying my voice is breaking, man. Look at my download speed. 65 MB is done in like 10 seconds. Okay, now what you have to do is you just have to double click on this file and it is going to be asked for this. Okay, just now installation is very simple. Just click on next, 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 everything. Okay, so run. Okay, now if you have time, you can read it. I have already read it. Okay, I did not find a single human who actually read that, but yeah, we have to install it. So you have to click on installation and it is going to be installed. Okay, once it is installed, okay, once this particular thing is installed, what you have to do is you have to search for git bash. Okay, in my case it is removed because I'm now installing it again. Otherwise, this is how the git bash looks like. It will take couple of seconds. So after the git bash, let this download might complete. Hey man, I have to jump into another meeting. So this is the website. Okay, just search for git install and you guys will get it. Okay, on the Google. I have sent it into the chat box as well. Okay. Now it is going to be installed. It is not going to take a lot of time. Depends on your system specification. I have already installed it. I'm using the Git a lot. Okay. So now this is completed. I'm going to click on this launch Git bash. You can launch it from here or you can launch it from the here as well. Now, if you can search, you can see this app, Git bash. Okay. All you need to do is just go over here, click on finish. Okay. Cancel. Now you can see over here, I got a window which is open after the download. I did not, this is not any rocket science. Just click on download and click on here on download and just run that file, double click on it, next, 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 and this will come over here. All you need to do is to check whether your Git is installed properly or not. You have to just write one single command, that is Git itself. Press enter. And if you are getting this type of message, okay, Git help and all these details, it means that your Git installation is complete. Okay, so everyone, please install the Git. Tomorrow we are going to learn that how to create the repo, what is a Git, what is a GitHub, okay, why we are how we are going to use the GitHub, how we are going to create the local repo, how we are going to create a repo on the GitHub. All these things we are going to learn tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. So before Wednesday is the class. Yes, it is on. No, it's not on Wednesday. It's tomorrow, man. It's 5 days class. That is Monday to Friday. So don't think that the class is on Wednesday. It is on 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24th of Jan. This is a 5 hour session, and the class is on tomorrow at 7 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. Okay. So don't think that the next class is on the Wednesday. It is a recurring class for the whole week. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Before we log off, can you guys give me the quick feedback into the chat box? How was the session? Did you guys enjoyed it? Did you find the session interesting? What's your feedback? Any feedback or any changes that I have to do in my examples, in my teaching style, or anything which you liked or which you did not like? Feel free to tell me.
The session was amazing, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ayush. It was great. You guys learned something new today. How many of you heard about the Git for the very first time? Yeah, a lot of you. Okay, so that's how the pace is actually built up. You must know about the problem statement, that what you are learning and why you are learning. Okay, that's why we discussed that project and the zip file issues. And then we understood the architecture. From tomorrow, we are going to learn about how to implement the things into it. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. It's really nice talking to you. Let's meet tomorrow. Again, I'm repeating, the class is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Okay, it is not on Wednesday, as generally you guys have a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday class. No, this class is 5 days straight, every day 7 p.m. Okay, attendance is done, and you guys also will get the recording. Once you join the session, attendance is auto done. Okay. Does Git as the competitor? Git does not have any competitor. GitHub has. There is a difference between Git and GitHub. Right now, Git does not have any. Okay. There are some companies like Google and Microsoft. Google and the Facebook. They are not using Git. They are having a different type of architecture. I will tell you later in the session. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Let's meet tomorrow. Bye bye. Have a great night.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.